What if an ordinary copper coin you have seen countless times holds a history and a value that most people simply never notice? Today, we are taking a closer look at a cornerstone of American numismatics, the Lincoln Wheat penny. For half a century, these coins passed through the hands of everyday Americans, buying everything from a daily newspaper to a piece of candy. Most were eventually lost, worn flat by decades of commerce, or thrown into jars and forgotten. But a closer inspection reveals that not all wheat pennies are created equal. We are going to explore three specific issues from the mid-20th century that fascinate advanced collectors and historians alike. As this investigation unfolds, you will understand why a few authenticated examples stand out from the millions of ordinary pennies, what characteristics experienced numismatists search for, and why professional grading, rarity, preservation, and genuine market demand determine whether one example is worth a few cents, while another commands serious attention at major auction houses. The story of the Lincoln Wheated cent begins in 1909, designed by sculptor Victor David Brenner to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It became the first regular issue United States coin to feature an actual historical figure. The obverse carried Lincoln's enduring portrait, while the reverse featured two curved wheat stalks surrounding the denomination, a design that symbolized agricultural abundance and national prosperity. By the mid-20th century, this design was an inescapable part of daily American life. Yet beneath this familiar surface lies a complex world of minting technology, metallic composition, and remarkable preservation that separates common pocket change from exceptional numismatic treasures. 1945, Lincoln Wheat penny. The year 1945 marked the victorious conclusion of the Second World War, a moment of profound relief and transformation for the United States. As soldiers prepared to return home and the nation began pivoting from a wartime economy back to peacetime production, the United States Mint was striking millions of Lincoln Wheat pennies to keep the gears of everyday commerce turning. Understanding the 1945 wheat penny requires looking closely at the extraordinary circumstances surrounding its metallic composition. 2 years earlier, in 1943, the Mint had famously removed all copper from the penny, striking coins in zinc-coated steel to conserve copper for ammunition and vital military equipment. From 1904 through 1946, the Mint transitioned to a new emergency composition, frequently referred to by numismatists as the shell casing bronze. To produce these coins, the government utilized salvaged brass shell casings recovered from military training facilities and battlefields. These casings were melted down and combined with pure copper to create an alloy consisting of 95% copper and 5% zinc, completely omitting the small amount of tin that had traditionally been part of the Lincoln cent recipe since 1909. This unique metallurgical fingerprint gives the 1945 wheat penny a direct, physical connection to the American war effort, transforming it from a simple medium of exchange into a tangible piece of military history. Despite this fascinating background, the sheer volume of production means that the 1945 wheat penny is not inherently rare. The Philadelphia Mint, which traditionally omitted a mint mark, the Denver Mint bearing the D, and the San Francisco Mint bearing the S, collectively struck hundreds of millions of these coins. Because of this massive output, finding a heavily circulated 1945 penny in a jar of old change is a relatively common occurrence. These circulated examples, darkened by decades of handling, oxidized by environmental exposure, and worn smooth on the highest points of Lincoln's cheek in the wheat stalks on the reverse, generally hold a value measured only in cents. However, the narrative changes dramatically when experienced collectors begin searching for condition rarities. Professional grading services evaluate surviving examples on the internationally recognized Sheldon scale, paying incredibly close attention to original mint luster, strike sharpness, and surface preservation. For copper coins, color classification is a critical factor determining market value. Coins are designated as brown, red-brown, or full red. A 1945 wheat penny that escaped circulation immediately was stored in a stable, inert environment and retains its original blazing full red mint brilliance is an entirely different caliber of collectible than a brown circulated piece. When a 1945 penny achieves a staggering grade of mint state 67 or mint state 68 full red, it enters a highly competitive arena where registry set collectors battle to own the finest known survivors. In this elite tier of the market, authenticated, pristine examples have reached auction records in the neighborhood of several $1,000s. Such astonishing prices are driven strictly by the miracle of perfect preservation, not by the date alone. Furthermore, specialists carefully inspect these coins for genuine mint errors, such as broad strikes, clip-on planchets, or dramatic off-center strikes. Because high-speed wartime production placed immense stress on the coining presses, isolated manufacturing mistakes inevitably occurred. Yet, collectors remain highly cautious, relying on third-party authentication to distinguish true mint errors from post-mint, mechanical damage, or intentional alterations. Artificial cleaning, in particular, is the enemy of the 1945 wheat penny. Well-intentioned individuals attempting to restore a coin's shine with chemical dips or abrasive cloths permanently strip away the original surfaces, leaving microscopic scratches that instantly destroy its numismatic premium. Therefore, recognizing the true value of a 1945 wheat penny means respecting its history, confirming its originality, and understanding that only the most exceptionally preserved, professionally certified examples command the attention of serious advanced collectors. 1946, Lincoln Wheat Penny. As the calendar turned to 1946, the United States was deeply immersed in the post-war economic boom. The factories that had spent years churning out tanks and aircraft were rapidly retooling to produce automobiles, household appliances, and consumer goods for a newly prosperous, peacetime society. In the numismatic world, the 1946 Lincoln Wheat Penny represents the final year of the famous shell-casing bronze composition. By the end of this year, the United States Mint would retire the salvaged artillery brass alloy and prepare to return to the traditional pre-war bronze mixture that included both tin and zinc. Therefore, the 1946 wheat penny stands as the closing chapter of a unique metallurgical era. Visually, the coin maintained the exact design specifications that Americans had trusted for decades. The obverse prominently featured Victor David Brenner's historic, dignified portrait of Abraham Lincoln, an image that had debuted in 1909 to commemorate the centennial of the president's birth. The reverse continued to display the two stylized stalks of Durham wheat framing the denomination and the words United States of America, a deeply agricultural motif symbolizing the nation's heartland and its capacity for growth. In 1946, production numbers across the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mint facilities were absolutely staggering, easily exceeding 1 billion total coins. This monumental mintage was necessary to fuel a rapidly expanding economy where the penny still held meaningful purchasing power for daily necessities like postage stamps, newspapers, and penny candy. Because the mint was operating at maximum capacity, quality control varied significantly from one batch of coins to the next. High-speed production meant that working dies frequently deteriorated before they were replaced. As a result, many 1946 wheat pennies exhibit weak strikes, where the intricate details of Lincoln's hair or the parallel lines at the top of the wheat ears appear soft, muddy, or incomplete right out of the mint. This inconsistency makes finding a fully struck, sharply detailed example an incredibly challenging pursuit for dedicated collectors. When evaluating a 1946 penny, specialists immediately look past the date to examine the crispness of the strike and the flow of original cartwheel luster. A coin with flat, lifeless surfaces or heavy bag marks acquired during transportation in large canvas mint bags will quickly be dismissed by elite buyers. The real excitement in the numismatic marketplace occurs when an impeccably preserved, uncirculated 1946 wheat penny surfaces. Just as with the previous year, the color designation of full red is the ultimate goal. A certified mint state 67 full red 1946 penny is a visual masterpiece, showcasing exactly how the coin looked the split second it was ejected from the coining press. These elite survivors, encapsulated in tamper-evident holders by respected third-party grading organizations, occasionally trigger intense bidding wars at auction, achieving prices that soar into the thousands. Yet, responsible market analysis demands a crucial reality check. These headline-making auction results represent a microscopic fraction of the surviving population. The overwhelming majority of 1946 wheat pennies found today are heavily worn, oxidized to a deep chocolate brown, and completely devoid of numismatic premiums, serving simply as inexpensive, tangible connections to the post-war era. Alongside condition rarities, era collectors scrutinize the 1946 mintage for repunched mint marks, particularly on the Denver and San Francisco issues, as well as minor double dyes. However, inexperienced collectors are frequently misled by machine doubling, a common, valueless phenomenon caused by a loose die shifting slightly during the strike, creating a flat, shelf-like secondary image. Differentiating true valuable die doubling from worthless machine doubling requires significant experience, proper magnification, and ultimately, professional authentication. This rigorous verification process protects buyers from exaggerated online claims and ensures that the highest market values are reserved exclusively for legitimately rare, undeniably authentic examples that have survived the decades in an extraordinary state of preservation. 1950, Lincoln Wheat Penny. The mid-20th century represented a period of immense economic expansion in the United States. Following the conclusion of the Second World War, the American manufacturing sector was booming, consumer spending was at an all-time high, and everyday commerce required an enormous supply of circulating coinage. The 1950 Lincoln Wheat Penny was struck right at the heart of this post-war prosperity. Produced at the main United States Mint facility in Philadelphia, this coin bears no mint mark beneath the date, following the traditional practice of the era. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 272 million of these pennies to meet the relentless demands of a growing economy. Because of this massive production figure, it is incredibly important to understand that mintage alone does not equal rarity. Millions of these coins survive today, and the overwhelming majority of them are worth only a few cents above their face value due to their metallic content. The coin was struck in the historic bronze alloy consisting of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, weighing exactly 3.11 grams with a diameter of 19.05 millimeters and a plain edge. This classic composition gives the wheat penny its distinctive weight and feel, characteristics that experienced collectors immediately recognize. Because copper is a highly reactive metal, it interacts with oxygen, moisture, and oils from human skin the moment it enters circulation. This chemical reaction causes the originally brilliant copper surfaces to darken into shades of deep brown over time. For the 1950 Philadelphia issue, the true numismatic investigation revolves almost entirely around exceptional preservation. Professional grading services, utilizing the internationally recognized Sheldon scale, evaluate copper coins not just on the sharpness of their strike, but heavily on their color designation. Coins are designated as brown, red-brown, or full red. A coin that has circulated even briefly will lose its delicate mint luster in its full red designation. To achieve a high mint state grade, a 1950 Lincoln penny must have escaped circulation entirely, often by being preserved in original bank-wrapped rolls or carefully stored mint sets for decades. Advanced registry set collectors seek out examples graded Mint State 66 or Mint State 67 full red. At these elite levels, the coin must display blazing original mint luster, uninterrupted by carbon spots, fingerprints, or contact marks from the high-speed minting presses. When an authenticated 1950 penny achieves a grade like MS67 red, it transforms from a common circulating coin into a highly sought-after condition rarity. In competitive auction environment, a flawless, professionally certified MS67 red example can command prices in the neighborhood of $1,000 to $1,500, with exceptionally eye-appealing pieces reaching even higher. However, it is absolutely critical to approach these numbers with a grounded perspective. These extraordinary prices apply exclusively to the absolute finest known surviving examples, representing a fraction of a percent of the total mintage. Attempting to clean a darkened or circulated 1950 penny with chemicals, polishes, or abrasive cloths in an effort to restore its red color will immediately destroy its numismatic value. Experienced collectors can instantly spot an artificially cleaned coin, which results in dull, unnatural surfaces covered in microscopic scratches. True value in the 1950 wheat penny relies entirely on untouched originality, verified by trusted third-party grading organizations that provide independent confirmation of the coin's authenticity, surface condition, and numerical grade. 1950, Lincoln Wheat Penny Crossing. Into the new decade, the 1950 Lincoln Wheat Penny introduces collectors to the mid-century American experience. The nation was entering an era of unprecedented suburban expansion, technological innovation, and the rising tensions of the Cold War. In the background of this shifting cultural landscape, the United States Mint continued its relentless production of the beloved copper cent. By 1950, the Mint had fully restored the traditional bronze alloy, consisting of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, a composition that returned the familiar weight, hardness, and tonal qualities to the coin. The 1950 wheat penny is often viewed as a quintessential representation of the series during its mature phase. While the overall mintage for this year was somewhat lower than the massive billion coin outputs of the war years, the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints still produced hundreds of millions of pieces, ensuring that the coins circulated heavily in the pockets of baby boomers and their parents. Because it is a relatively modern issue by numismatic standards, the 1950 wheat penny provides an excellent case study in how the passage of time and the environment degrade metallic surfaces. Copper is a highly reactive metal. The moment a freshly struck penny enters circulation, it is exposed to moisture, atmospheric sulfur, kin oils, and physical friction. These elements interact with the copper, rapidly toning the brilliant red surfaces into various shades of brown, while everyday handling wears down the highest relief points of Brenner's design. This inevitable degradation is precisely why serious collectors place such a massive premium on pristine, uncirculated survivors. A 1950 wheat penny that was pulled from a fresh bankroll and carefully stored for more than 7 decades without ever entering the stream of commerce is a numismatic time capsule. Evaluating these uncirculated examples requires a highly disciplined approach. Professional graders use a 10x magnification loupe to search for microscopic carbon spots, hairlines, and evidence of improper storage, such as the destructive green slime known as PVC damage, which occurs when coins are stored in cheap plasticizers leaching albums. A coin must be virtually flawless to achieve the highest grades on the Sheldon scale. For the 1950 issue, the leap in market value between a Mint State 65 and a Mint State 67 is exponential. A Mint State 65 example might be relatively affordable, representing a beautiful but accessible piece for a mid-level collector. However, when a 1950 wheat penny is professionally certified as Mint State 67 full red, combining a needle-sharp strike with blinding original luster and completely unblemished surfaces, it transforms into an elite registry set target. Such exceptional coins have recorded auction sales in the thousands of dollars, driven by wealthy collectors who demand absolute perfection for their competitive sets. Beyond pristine condition, the 1950 wheat penny is also hunted for specific die varieties and errors. The San Francisco Mint, in particular, is scrutinized by variety specialists for repunched mint marks, where the S was struck into the working die more than once in slightly different positions. While major eye-catching errors like off-center strikes or coins accidentally struck on silver dime planchets are exceedingly rare and highly valuable, the marketplace is unfortunately flooded with heavily damaged coins being falsely promoted as mint errors. A penny that has been smashed in a vise, chemically altered, or corroded by environmental exposure is frequently misrepresented to unsuspecting buyers. This persistent issue underscores the absolute necessity of third-party grading. When a rare 1950 error coin or a flawless condition rarity is encapsulated by a trusted grading service, it carries an independent guarantee of authenticity, grade, and originality, providing buyers with the confidence required to invest substantial capital. For the average person discovering a 1950 wheat penny in an old jar, the most important lesson is to adjust expectations. While the coin is a charming, historic artifact of mid-century America, its financial value is dictated by a ruthless standard of perfection. Proper preservation, handling the coin only by its edges and keeping it in a dry, inert environment is the only way to protect whatever original surfaces remain, ensuring that this small piece of history survives intact for future generations of collectors to study and appreciate.